So from last session, we were discussing about an analogy which was with a father listening to the choir, and within the choir was one of his sons, in fact the only son. So the son, who is very dear, very close to this father. In fact, any father knows his son very well, knows how they look like, especially knows how they sound like. And despite being so close and so dear, the father still could not pick up this familiar, this close voice of his son. So this obviously is trying to communicate that the boy represents the inner nature of the Atman. And owing to the plurality of the world, it as though drowns out the recognition of Atman. And for that reason, the person, the Purusha, is unable to discern something that is so dear, something so close. In fact, I am that. That cannot be recognized only to this choir of the world, of Jagat. And so the son, I said, represents the self. And the father loves the son, yes? Always. So what do we discuss in verse 9? In Panchadashi, we said, all actions are done for the sake of the self. That means all of our motivations, all of our life is only for the sake of loving our self. So what does this now mean? The father cannot pick out his son's voice. Does the father love his son? Yes. What does the son represent? Atman, self. So how do we then experience the world? Looking for things to fill our void of emptiness of love. In other words, we perform actions to discover the fullness of our love. But because of this choir, of this plurality, we're unable to do that unless we are taught how. And we also said, we used the word pratibandha, that means obstacle. So the choir, which is drowning out the voice of the son, of the self, is pratibandha, the obstacle. The obstacle to recognition of something that is most dear to all, which is self. That means fullness of love. And this pratibandha, what is pratibandha, please?
Obstacles.
Okay. So this pratibandha causes two situations. So this obstacle, number one, it causes the absence of correct perception. What does this mean? So for example, I hold this empty bottle and I'm showing you this pure object, this pure sattvic nature of this object. We'll talk about the three gunas. And I put a pratibandha behind, and you're still looking at that which is in its true essence. But only to the pratibandha, I say, now ask you, what is the nature of this bottle? And you say, You describe it as everything other than what it actually is. You're still describing it, but what is happening? I'm not gaining true perception. I have absence of true perception. Only to that true perception, the absence of, I describe it as close, something that is close, but it's not exactly it. So this then causes the second cause of pratibandha. I said there's two causes. The first one, absence of correct perception. And the second, obviously, logically, you would then have to project something else onto it. And where does this projection come from? What is it of? The mind. In order to fill a misperception, I have to then fill it with something from the one that's looking at it, obviously from this mind. So now this brings a question. Depending on the mind, what is the mind? In this case, the buddhi, education. Depending on the education of the mind is what I will then project onto this object. You understand? If I'm uneducated about what reality is, the total, then my lack of education will then end up projecting onto what is, onto the truth, onto the absolute non-negatable truth, i.e. Satchitananda, which describes Brahman. I will discuss these two words, what they mean. So, I said pratibandha causes two situations. And what do? They cause vyamoha. Vyamoha, which means utter confusion. That's how the world generally is, in one way or another, walking in a confused state. I don't exactly know how, what, where, which. I think I know, but it is not exactly as I know. Otherwise, if I knew what it is, then the person would not seek. They would stop seeking. They would be completely content with themselves. So, we have now established, as long as there is action of looking, action of betterment, it implies pratibandha is operational. And as long as pratibandha is operational, it implies the mind is out of alignment with reality. Therefore, the mind has to be corrected in alignment with reality. Reality means the absolute reality. The absolute reality includes both the vyavaharika, that is the empirical reality, the transactional reality, and also the recognition of paramarthika, that is Brahman. Okay, I'll give you an example of this pratibandha and vyamoha. So, pratibandha, two situations. Absence of correct perception and projection, thus, of the wrong perception. Automatic. I'm ignorant, therefore I project. And this causes vyamoha, confusion. Example. Suppose you go to a new job, a new workplace, just hired. And you haven't been told the code of conduct, like who's who there, who's the manager, who are the important people, who's going to be your colleague, like how to speak, how to not speak. All of that I have not looked into. I have not been educated, I have not been trained how to operate in this world called institution that I'm employed in. What's going to happen? Problems, right? conflicts, subtle conflicts. So we're going to be, in one way or another, frustrated as inevitable conflicts arise. Why? Why are they going to arise? Because pratibandha, absence of correct perception. Stop there. Why do I have absence of correct perception?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. I do not have knowledge. And what does this then lead? Number 2, projection of wrong notions. Whose notions? My notions. If you're the employee, your notions. Notions according to what? Chitta, memory, past. If I worked in a different workforce, then I will take that and I will apply it into the new workforce. But the new workforce may not be in accordance with my past. So therefore, I will attract problems. So in other words, what's going to happen in the workplace is I'm going to continue superimposing false notions onto the workforce. Not only creating problems for myself, but also for other people. So that's the importance of education is emphasized here. Okay. So, next topic. What is the effect of pratibandha? Answer: avidya. Ignorance. And this ignorance is what we call anadi. Anadi means beginningless. That means ignorance never started. In fact, that question is invalid. You can't say, when did ignorance begin? It's like asking, when did Maya begin? We'll get into Maya, of course. Except there's a difference between avidya and Maya, or even Ishvara. Both are beginningless, certainly. However, avidya can come to an end. How? Self-knowledge. Whereas Maya, that is eternal. That is simply power in Brahman. Okay.
So when you realize Brahman, Maya goes off then? No?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Maya is only true while I believe that Maya is true. When I realize that the nature of myself is actually Brahman, then Maya still on a transactional reality continues giving us this material cause. However, I'm not identified with it, so therefore Maya loses its power on a personal level. But on a transactional level, still, it continues. You probably heard these statements in the spiritual world. The world is going to disappear. I mean, at least I did. You're going to have the world disappear. The mind disappears, the whole world disappears. I remember hearing these statements. It was so confusing. It's like, what do you mean the world disappears? What am I going to see? It's like blank. How am I going to deal with people? So this is the problem of not knowing about the Paramarthika, Vyavaharika, and Pratibhasika, 3 realities. Okay, now that I've mentioned those 3 words, what is Pratibhasika? Answer? Pratibhasika?
Fully subjective reality.
Huh?
Subjective reality.
What does subjective reality mean?
Projection of likes and dislikes on the objective.
Yeah. More terms? Subjective reality.
Misapprehension.
Good word. Misapprehension of what?
Reality.
Okay, good. And what is Vyavaharika?
Transactional reality.
What does transactional reality mean? Describe.
Maya?
Vyavaharika transactional reality.
Isn't it just how it is?
Okay, what does how it is means? What does that mean?
It's objective.
Yeah, material.
What does objective mean?
World of
Material.
objects. Yeah, world of objects which you interact through
Whose
your
world?
senses. My world or the Jiva's world through which he or she through their senses.
No. Not my world. My world belongs to Pratibhasika. Whose world?
Ishwara's world?
Good. Ishvara's world. What is Paramarthika?
Absolute.
Huh?
Absolute reality.
Okay, what does this mean?
Higher nature.
Yeah, the higher. The higher or the highest?
Highest.
The highest, okay. What is highest? Another name for highest nature?
So,
What's nature?
Paramatma.
Parakriti. What's nature?
Satchitananda?
Okay, good. Satchidananda. Another name for Satchidananda. What is Satchidananda? What is that's a definition of what?
so,
It's inappropriate to use Satchidananda
Brahman.
for Atman. Brahman. See, we got to know the difference between. Okay, it is true. However, we need to be careful with our words because there is a certain context when we use these words. So, Satchidananda is a definition, describes what is Brahman. How do you describe it? Then we go into Satchidananda teaching. I think we'll cover it in a couple of verses. Okay. So this avidya that I'm speaking of means ignorance. It has two definitions. Number one, okay, so question, what is avidya? Let's talk about that. Number one, it is non-existent. Did you ever feel like you were watched by someone, but then you checked and you were not being watched by anyone? You felt like some kind of spooky presence, ghosts or in the room. Maybe as a child.
Yeah.
I'm scared of, ghosts or poltergeist, something. But then, was it really there? So, in other words, I'm ignorant, and therefore, I project. I project my own idea. So, did that poltergeist actually exist? On the objective reality? Vyavaharika? No, I gave reality to it. Owning to what? What's the second definition of pratibhasika? Of pratibandha? Projecting notions owning to my own education. So, or how about flying reindeer, Santa, in the sky? Is that real? Okay, it's real to whom?
the kid.
The kid. But is it real in the absolute sense? No. So in other words, this idea, which owing to lack of education causes me to be ignorant of the reality, but in actuality, this avidya is actually non-existent. Owing to what? What's the cause of this? Despite it not existing, why do I still experience ignorance? False notions. What's the first definition of pratibandha? Absence of correct perception. Okay. So the first definition of avidya is non-existence. Clear? Second definition, what does ignorance mean? Non-knowledge, which results in partially or partial knowledge in. Non-knowledge or partial knowledge in. That's the second definition of avidya. You know the conspiracies like we never landed on the moon?
Yeah.
Or what do we have?
9/11 being a hoax.
9/11, or how about when an airplane goes down into the ocean and they cannot find it for a couple of, maybe a month or 5 months, what happens in those 5 months? A bunch of stories get postulations.
Yeah.
In fact, the last time I checked, it was Malaysian Airlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they haven't found that one yet.
Because I'm flying in Malaysia a couple of days, so it's a little bit scary now. One of them went down, and during the time when it was not found, it was I knew what's going to happen. Like, okay, you read online, the airplane entered in a different portal, a different dimension, stolen by the aliens, right? And this is like predictable. In other words, when I don't have the full knowledge, then I'm helpless to projection. I'm helpless to these ideas which are completely out of alignment with what is. How about the flat Earth theory? When did that come up? Just recently got all the technology in the world, and you will never expect flat Earth in the 21st century, 2000 and what year is this? 19. Right?
Too much meditation.
So this is how these happen as a result of avidya. A lot of problems, and causes problems for others. And people start Facebook groups, communities, all based on what? False notions. Why am I saying this? So we can see how these, I'm not putting down communities, but just you can see how these communities get formed based on a certain idea. Okay. So now next verse, this was revision from last fortnight. Next verse, 15, will talk about the nature of avidya, ignorance. Why do you want to know the nature of ignorance?
So we can recognize it.
Good. See, how am I supposed to remove avidya if I don't know what avidya is? So I can only remove what I understand. Okay, number 15. Okay, so it's on the right. Okay, so I'm reading on the right top. The prakriti. Okay, before we go there, this is going to introduce a new topic of prakriti, and this is going to explain avidya. So this is what we're going to speak about prakriti now. The prakriti in association, I know what you're going to ask now, what is prakriti? Wait. The prakriti in association with the reflection of Brahman, which is of the nature of conscious bliss, ananda, is made up of sattvaha, rajaha, and tamaha gunas, and is of two types. Okay. So we used several words here. Prakriti, we will discover what it is. In association with the reflection of Brahman. So now we're going to speak about this reflection. How does this Brahman reflect? What does it mean to reflect? Because what is Brahman? The absolute reality. You are Brahman. And the nature of this Brahman is Ananda. And this Ananda, because Satchit Ananda, is conscious, is aware. And this Prakriti that we will speak of is made up of Sattva, Guna, Raja Guna, and Tama Guna. So therefore you say Prakriti and then 3 lines. Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, Tama Guna. And now, this Prakriti is of 2 types. So now you have Prakriti, Sattva, Raja, Tama, and then this Prakriti is of 2 types. So now we discover what is these 2 types. Okay. Before reading this, So let's talk about Brahman. Because we said here a reflection of Brahman. So first question, what is Brahman? Brahman is limitless. Ananda. Limitless means Ananda. Therefore, Brahman is Ananda. Limitless. It's limitless in nature. Not as in a quality, but we're describing it as in what is its essence? Like what's the essence of sugar?
Sweet.
Yeah. So we're not adding attributes onto sugar. We're simply describing the truth of sugar, the essence of sugar. Without the sweetness, is sugar sugar? No. So therefore, without limitlessness, is Brahman Brahman? No. Okay, good. So what did I say so far? Brahman is Ananda, is limitless. Follow the logic. This Ananda aspect of Brahman apparently becomes the world, Jagat, owning to its nature. Whose nature? Owning to the limitlessness nature. Owning to its nature of unlimited potential. Why did I say unlimited potential? Because Ananda. Ananda means limitless. Limitless means unlimited potential. That means nothing is not possible. Okay, everything is possible. So, Ananda aspect of Brahman apparently becomes the world owning to its nature of unlimited potential to will its capacity. What capacity? Capacity of Prakriti. So I'm going to read this again. Brahman is limitless. What's Brahman? You are. That is your nature. Absolute nature. Ananda aspect of this Brahman apparently becomes, why did I say apparently? Because it's not actual. So we're just putting that word for safety reasons, so we don't think it actually modifies. It apparently becomes the world. Now stop. You're going to say how. How does it apparently become the world? And then it continues, owning to its will. And what is this will? Maya. Another name for Prakriti. So, will of Brahman causes this world to come. In other words, the Prakriti inherent, Maya inherent in Brahman causes this world to come. Before asking a question, I will explain. So now you're going to say, please give an example. How do you even quantify this in a real relatable way? Think of a singer. You know, they got power to sing. So in the singer, there is inherent power to sing. Sing what? Sing a world of notes. What happens when the singer sings a world of notes? Beauty. You want to listen. You want to enjoy. Now you're going to ask, how does the singer come to a place where he or she wants to sing? Like what happens? What actually happens for them to be neutral and suddenly there's a desire invoked and they start singing? So when desire comes in this singer, then, as I said, world of notes is created. So we have singer, desire. Desire comes, world comes of what? Notes. And what is this world of notes? Okay, so we have a singer. Looks like a duck. Okay, and then we have world of notes. And it's a huge world of notes. Now, what are these notes a reflection of? They're a reflection of that one who is the source of them. So now you understand what reflected awareness means? So the source is the singer. When desire comes, his will, owing to what? His prakriti nature, his maya. Then a world comes, and this world not only has sights, sounds, tastes, but also this world creates many people called jivas. Why? So that they can experience the world of that one who is the source of the whole world. In other words, that one who is the source of the world is not only creating the world, but is also creating those who are enjoying the very world. But those are also the source of that one, of the whole. So just like, so we can now postulate and say, therefore this nature called Maya, Prakriti, because Maya and Prakriti are synonymous words, please keep that in mind. So this Prakriti is not a product of Brahman, nor is it apart from Brahman. What did I just say? It is not a product of Brahman, nor is it separate from Brahman. Okay, how do you explain this? Are these notes a product of the singer? It's a trick question. Think about it. Are these notes a product of the singer? What's the natural response? Yes. Okay. If you said yes, then here's a question. Would you still say yes if I remove this world? If I erase this whole world and I ask you the same question? See, who just listened when I asked, is this product of the singer? Who just listened to that? The jiva did. But why is the jiva there? Who's the origin? Brahman. So is this a product of the singer? Only when it is a product of the singer. But what happens if I remove this world? Can you still call this a singer? Why not? Because there is no manifestation, there is no prakriti operational. Therefore, this product has nothing to do with the singer. Because the singer starts to what? He just finds himself with this immense potential to what? Sing. To create this beautiful world of notes. I don't know where it comes from, but I know one thing, it is in me. And this in me, when the situation arises, it then projects a world which we call the Jagat. And not only is it the world of 5 elements, the Panchamahabhuta, but also it has the jivas which are able to witness these elements in a variety of forms. So therefore the world has nothing to do with Brahman. Just like your dream has nothing to do with you. I know you're going to say, yes, it does, because it comes out of my memory. But my question is, yeah, but did you put yourself in a situation that made your memory your memory? Did you like choose that? No, you just found yourself in different circumstances of life, and then we just sort of accumulate all these experiences, and then and on the basis of our knowledge, limited knowledge, we create what? A dream world. But the dream world has nothing to do with what? The person who is free of that world. If I was not free of that dream world, then what would happen? I could never wake up from the dream. But it's very obvious that we do wake up from the dream. So, coming back to the thread. Just like the notes are not a product of the singer. Why? Because the singer is a witness, a sakshi to the world of notes. Remember, the singer just finds him or herself having this immense ability, and then it's projected into the world. And then while it's operational, what does the singer do? I should change the language. What is that one who verifies, who validates the singing? What's their, owing to their pervasive nature, they get to what? Be aware, they get to witness the creation arising out of myself, out of that potential. Okay. Now we also said, nor is it a part. So neither is this Maya a product of Brahman, nor is it apart from Brahman. Is this world independent? No, it depends on what? The singer. Therefore, the world is not apart from Brahman, but also it is not a product of Brahman. So the singer is therefore an apparent singer. Why apparent singer? Because while the singer is singing, I say, wow, fantastic singer. But does that define the singer as only the singer? No, because the singer stops. So therefore, when he stops, I can't call him singer because there's nothing to say about that one. So therefore, the singer, the quote singer, is always free of the power that arises out of itself. Just like Brahman is always free of the world that arises out of its own Prakriti. What is Brahman? You. So what does this mean? You are free of the whole world. Just like the singer is free of the world of notes. Okay. Now I said, does the singer is an apparent singer? Apparent singer. Now why apparent? Because he or she appears to be playing a role of the singer, but is actually not a singer, because he is so much more than just singing. Okay. What happens when the singing stops? No longer a singer. So therefore, if I call you a singer, I'm actually what? Only calling you an apparent singer. That doesn't define your nature if I call you a singer. You're not just that, you're so much more than that. That's the point. So how does this now relate to a person? What do we often think in our lives? I'm small. I'm not worth it. But what we just established here, you're free of everything. Because the world of smallness is another world coming out of the singer. Okay. So does the nature of avidya, of this ignorance, so question, what is the nature of this ignorance? Is owning to full potential. Okay. The nature of avidya is owning to the full potential for creation within Brahman. Full potential. So this potential is called Maya or Prakriti, two synonymous words. So what is Prakriti or Maya? The full potential. Okay, and this potential being desirously willed, the original consciousness, that is Brahman. What's Brahman? Original consciousness. It reflects in this Prakriti. So what did I just say? The original reflects in his world, in Prakriti. So now you're going to say, what determines what kind of world of note is created, right? Because what determines whether it is, beautiful notes, small notes, big notes, all funny notes, weird notes, synchronous notes, asynchronous notes. What determines that? Because this is what? Prakriti. And when Brahman shines on Prakriti, then a world is created. Question: how is the world? What determines how the world is created? What determines the characteristics of that world? So now we have to investigate this Prakriti. Okay. So the Prakriti that we're speaking of is made up of three gunaha. And this three gunaha is a composition. So this means the composition, the variety, the quantity of these three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, will determine what kind of world is created. So therefore we have now established that Prakriti equals Maya equals Trigunaha. Okay, all synonymous.
Do you mean quantity or do you mean the ratio? Between
Well, quantity is the same. Like a big amount of quantity of sattva. Or ratio also not a nice word, yeah. Okay. So the Prakriti is made up of the composition of these three gunas. And the reflection, what is the reflection? The light shining onto the Prakriti. Because we said Brahman reflects. So the reflection is then seemingly transformed according to the ratio of the three gunas. So for example, the light is now shining on the hand. Okay? So that's the original. And it looks like the hand, it looks like the light has taken on the attributes of this Prakriti. So this hand is going to be determined based on what? The ratio of the three gunas. And when the reflection hits the Prakriti, Maya, then it seems to transform according to what? The ratio, the quantity of the three gunas. Clear? Okay. Keep that word reflection in mind because I'm going to read an important statement here because you're going to think reflection as in distance. That's how the mind thinks. Brahman is over there and is reflecting onto Ishvara or something. So we have to correct that.
I'm just a little confused.
Yeah.
I know you said the light reflecting onto the object,
Yeah.
but the light, the reflection from the light also can be shattered by the gunas in it. I mean, there are sometimes bright light. I'm talking about generally light, different types of light.
Yeah.
So according to that reflection is what? So does the guna start from the reflection itself?
Oh, okay. Okay. So just imagine, because I know what you mean. Now you can say there's big light, there's sunlight, right? A lot of light.
Yeah.
And there's a little of light.
So I'm going to see different things in your hand.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to see clearer marks or
Yeah.
less marks or dirt even I can see on your hand, like that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Because Ran is now bringing the limitation to the example. Just imagine the ultimate light. The light which is, see, I can only use an example that is limiting in itself. When I use a limiting example, you can instantly amp up the intensity of that example by saying, yeah, but what about sunlight? Because sunlight will give me so much more features. It will reveal so many more features on the hand. So, just imagine like the strongest light in the world. A light that reveals everything. Nothing can stop it.
You can't see.
No, just light that makes aware of whatever is shown to it. Actually, we don't even have to think that big. Just ordinary light. Okay, just a very strong light. If I show you, let's suppose 10,000 lux, and I shine it onto this hand, right? I'm going to see pretty much everything. 10,000 lux is the sun. Now, if I have 2 times the sun, what am I going to see? Same things. So light can only reveal so much. It reveals whatever it's revealing.
But the light to the person is the vision to the object. If it's too much light, the vision's marked.
Yeah.
What do you call? It's affected.
Okay, good.
So the vision becomes unclear.
Yeah.
So we're not going to see exact what we
Okay,
saw
good.
earlier.
That's not going to happen because we have the 3 guna. And the Tama guna is absorbing the light. So suppose I have a black color here. So if I have sunlight hitting this black, there's something called the ultimate black. It absorbs all light. If I have sun hitting the black, it's going to absorb the sun. Yeah. If I have a torch hitting this black, it's also going to absorb the torch. So no matter what the light hits, no matter how powerful, this is going to absorb like a sponge that light, and it's going to reflect hardly anything back. So that's not going to happen because the world has these three guna, and one of those guna is tama guna, and tama guna absorbs reflection, absorbs the consciousness. So therefore, there is you don't see full brightness. Because why? Maya is operational, and Maya is what? Three guna. So therefore, it absorbs the original reflection, the original light. Yeah. I just don't want you to now go into, it's now going and saying, but what about a more powerful light? You know what I mean? Just stick with one light source and keep it as though it is the only light source.
No, that's not
So
right.
is the three gunas a bit like the contrast? Is that a way of looking at it? Because light is just light.
Yeah.
And in terms of the reflection of the image, it's the contrast between the detail, which is what gives us the appearance, isn't it? I'm just trying to...
No, the three guna is going to modify the world. It's going to
Yeah.
modify the sand completely.
I'm seeing it as three materials. One is a dark material veiling the whole thing. That's tamaguna.
Yeah.
And then rajas must be a halfway. You can see something there.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like-
not clear.
It's like changing the contrast
Yeah.
on TV. You're changing the ratio of the gunas. Isn't it?
Yeah, okay, just a mirror. Clear mirror. Clear mirror implies sattva, pure. That means reflection, almost 100%. There's no 100% in anything in creation, but almost 100%. Why do I say not 100%? Because three gunas are never apart. Therefore, it's never going to reflect 100%. At least on the world of creation. Now, if I kind of put a little bit of dust onto this mirror, then you're still going to have a reflection, but it's not going to be as reflective as it could be if I remove the dust. Now, suppose there's so much dust on this that it's like reflecting the sun, but it's like blurred. You know those screen protectors? They like blur out the light. So that's tamaguna. But I'm still seeing a very partial reflection. So all of them do reflect, but at a different quantity. Don't go ahead of yourself because we're still getting the triguna. We still haven't gotten into them. Okay. So we're going to now ask, what is the nature of this prakriti? We spoke about prakriti. Two types. You're going to ask, what are these two types? Okay, what are the two types of prakriti? First of all, before I answer that, what does the word prakriti mean? In this context, it means the cause of the entire universe. That's it. Cause of the entire universe. It literally means the source of all creation. So obviously we're speaking of... No, we're speaking of Maya. Because Prakriti is compared to Maya. So Prakriti is the cause of the entire... Because see, I said two types. Can you put two types onto Brahman? Why not? What is Brahman? Changeless. Limitless. If I put two, as soon as I add two, it's no longer what is limitless. So, two types of Prakriti. This Prakriti, I'm talking about Maya now, cannot be perceived by the mind. Number one. You cannot say, Maya. You're under the spell of Maya. You can't say that. Because even this person is also... Because how can you say there's Maya? That implies what? Maya is an object. But the entire creation is what? Of Maya. So therefore, number one, we cannot perceive it. But we can infer it. This is called anumana in Sanskrit. What does inference mean? For example, if I see smoke in the distance, then I don't have to see the fire, but I can still say fire. Why?
Smoke.
Yeah. So owing to the smoke, I make an inference, I make a connection, I say there must be fire. So now how can we, if we cannot see Prakriti with our minds, then how can we speak about Prakriti? How can we speak about Maya if we can't perceive Maya? How is that possible? Because Prakriti has effects. Just like that fire, that smoke is an effect of what? Fire. But I don't see the cause. What do I see? I see the effect. So what is the effect of Maya? How do we even come up with the word Maya? Because Maya is the cause. So then what must be the effect?
The Jagat.
Yeah, the entire world. By the world's existence, by the creation of different objects, we can infer Maya. Okay, let's now bring this in the context of the Triguna. What is Maya? Trigunaha. So we'll just take, for example, the sattva aspect of Maya. So sattva means all knowledge on the macrocosmic. So this all knowledge principle, when we speak about God, is all knowing. That is sattva guna. Now, what does knowledge mean? Intelligence. Like where there's knowledge, there is order, there is predictability, you can make sense of it, right? There's seasons, one follows the next. The sun rises in the east, sets in the west, right? You can make sense of the world. You understand? The birds fly in a certain direction. They don't suddenly, go down and then come up or have this weird. There's a nice order to it. So that's an effect, right? Nature, the beautiful nature's laws are an effect. So by that, I then infer there must be then intelligence, which I cannot see. I just see this beautiful order. I don't see the cause, but I see what? The effect. So by the effect of the order of the universe, I then infer Maya. I infer what? Sattva guna. Or, for example, in creation, we also see, every once in a while, chaos. Right? We see like disharmony in the world, and it's clearly like disease, disease like bacteria. And when someone's sick, that's also disharmony with knowledge. So by disharmony, we can then infer what happens when sattva is contaminated. When I say contaminated, means what? The ratio of raja and tamas increases. So therefore, when the ratio of raja guna and tama guna increases and sattva guna is lower, then chaos arises. So by chaos, I then infer there must be something amidst this harmony. This is what people often call evil. But we cannot just generalize it. You have to understand where is this coming from. So this is when this raja and tama guna starts to increase. That's this harmony in a civilization or a culture starts to arise. So by this harmony, I then infer, okay, so therefore there must be not only knowledge, but there must be some aspect of, this harmony of passion, this harmony of desire. Then we infer there must also be sattva guna and must also be raja guna, which is action. Because all this harmony is what? Very strong action. And what is this action backed by? Adharma, himsa. So therefore, not only is there a strong action, a strong will, but there's also some darkness to it. There's some evil darkness. There's some unintelligence about it. So this is how we make an inference. Okay. So I asked the question, what are the two types of Prakriti? Next verse will explain that. How are we so far?
Yeah, good.
Following?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, verse 16. Before I go to verse 16, I want to read this little part here for extra information. So when I spoke about reflection, remember the reflection here? We often think reflected awareness means like sun is reflecting the light on the moon. Now the mind's going to like, yeah, that's a nice example, but what's the subtle implication there? That Brahman is away from Prakriti. That Prakriti is over there and I'm shining onto it. So it's a very nice statement. It says, reflection is not to be understood to be like mirror, reflection in the mirror, but more like person's character being reflected in their behavior. You see that example? In other words, whatever knowledge I have about the world, it's going to what? So that's the cause. It's going to be affected, it's going to be produced in my immediate behavior. They're not separate. There's no delay between what I know and my behavior. In fact, even the way I'm explaining this is coming out of what? My character. So character and behavior, the source and the reflection are always one. They're literally inseparable. They're immediate. So therefore, reflected awareness now is understood as not awareness, but immediacy.
So moon reflecting in the sun rather than the sun reflecting the moon.
The sun reflecting?
The moon is reflecting in the sun rather than the
Good.
sun reflecting the moon.
Yeah. So that's one level more now of understanding. So imagine like the moon is in the sun, and then this moon is like the Prakriti, and then the sun is immediately pervading this moon. Now this moon, as a good example, this moon is going to be what? So we have the nice sun, and we have like nice little moon. So the light is obviously going to pervade the moon everywhere. But what's going to determine this moon? The Triguna. Okay? So verse 16 now. Two types of Prakriti. Okay. On the left, when the Prakriti is predominantly, that means mainly, that means Maya is mainly Sattva Guna or Sattva dominant, it is called as Maya. Okay, so once again, pause there. So this Prakriti, we're not even going to call this Maya anymore, we're going to call this just Prakriti. So inherent in Brahman is Prakriti. When this Prakriti, out of the three gunas, is mainly Sattva Guna, we call this Maya. What did I say earlier on? What is all knowledge? Sattva Guna. So therefore, Maya is what? All knowledge. Okay, continuing. While contaminated, that means this Prakriti, while contaminated with Raja and Tamaguna, it is called Avidya. Okay, so when dominant equals Sattva, we call that Maya. When this Prakriti is contaminated, or the ratio of Tama and Raja Guna increases, then it changes name to Avidya. Okay. Now, the reflected consciousness, i.e. Brahman, keeping the Maya under its control, keeping the Maya, what is Maya? Sattva Guna, under its control, it is called Ishvara. So when the total, when Brahman is keeping his Maya under, Maya means what? Sattva Guna, under control, just like a master keeps his dog under control, it is called Ishvara, the omniscient, the all-knowing Lord. Why omniscient? Because who is being kept under control? Maya. What is Maya? All knowledge. What does omniscient mean? All knowledge. So therefore, Ishvara is omniscient. It is what? Pure Sattva. Pure Sattva Guna. So what is God? all knowledge. Now, more technical, what is God? Pure sattva guna. What is sattva guna? All knowledge of what? Of everything. For example, a person only has a knowledge of singing, but you also have a knowledge of carpentry, you have a knowledge of plumbing. But when we put all of our knowledges together, that equates to total knowledge, the omniscient knowledge, the all-knowing. And now I'm going to, just for extra clarity, read the blue one on the top. When the sattva dominates, sattva guna, this prakriti is known as maya. When sattva is impure, being mixed with raja and tamaguna, that is, it is called avidya. Understood. Brahman, reflected in maya, is known as Ishvara. So what is Brahman? Okay, so what is Ishvara? Ishvara is thus when Brahman is reflected in pure sattva guna called maya. And this maya is under control. Why? Because it's all knowledge. So therefore all knowledge cannot go out of control because it is all, what do we say about knowledge? Orderly. Okay. So now for extension of this, actually I'll read the commentaries. The two types of prakriti are Shuddha Sattva and Ashuddha Sattva. So Shuddha Sattva means Sattva Guna, pure Sattva Guna. Ashuddha Sattva means Sattva Guna contaminated by the Raja and Tamaguna. Okay, so those are the two types of Prakriti. When Chit Ananda Brahman gets reflected in Shuddha Prakriti, that means what? In pure Sattva Guna, on the left, it results in Maya. When Chit Ananda Brahman is reflected in Ashuddha Prakriti, that means Prakriti which is of the three gunas now, fully, it is called Avidya. Now, next. Ishvara is defined as, okay, so what is Ishvara? What is God? Ishvara is defined when the Prakriti is Sattva Guna, dominant, and it reflects Brahman, the reflected Brahman keeps the Maya in its own control, and that reflection, which is of what? Pure Sattva Guna, when that reflection is identified with Maya, it is called Ishvara. So when this reflection is identified with that which it is shining through and on, then we call that Ishvara. In other words, it's shining on what? Pure Sattva Guna. So what is Ishvara? Pure Sattva Guna, pure knowledge. As a corollary, it follows that Jiva is the same Paramatma, which means Brahman, coming under the influence of Prakriti. So the Jiva is also, what is a Jiva? Body, mind, intellect, is also Brahman, coming under the influence of Prakriti, not in equilibrium. What does not in equilibrium mean? Ashuddha Prakriti. In other words, when Brahman is shining onto Prakriti, who is not pure Sattva Guna, then we call that Jiva. The conditioned expression of the absolute, that means the absolute truth, is called Jiva. Okay? The condition, the apparently conditioned by what? By the three guna. So when the absolute purity, when Brahman is apparently conditioned by the three guna, equals Jiva. Okay. So now let's talk about the nature of the Triguna. Okay. So on the Trigunas, so we're now going to learn what are these Trigunas, just a little bit more knowledge about them. Two types of disturbances were described earlier. One is Shuddha and one is Ashuddha. So now we're going to talk about the Shuddha, that means the pure Sattva Guna. Maya, the Sattvic disturbance, that means pure Sattva. It is still a disturbance, but it's Sattva. Sattva is that quality which is responsible for knowledge. Knowledge is associated with prakasha. Prakasha means light, or brightness, or equilibrium, a state of harmony with everything. Therefore, Maya cannot delude. Why? Because it is pure knowledge. Now, did you ever hear people saying that, because it's contradictory to hear this, we keep saying that, Maya is the great cause of our delusion. Did you ever hear that?
Yeah.
Like Maya deludes.
Yeah.
But here it says Maya cannot delude because it is pure Sattva Guna. It is only to Sattva Guna that the person realizes who they are. So how do we resolve this? I made a note there. When we say Maya deludes, it means the aspect of Raja and Tamaguna deludes, not Sattva Guna. So we have to now go a little bit more specific. So therefore, next time you hear Maya deludes, you have to ask, which guna are you talking about? Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, or Tamaguna? What's your answer? Raja and Tamaguna. Sattva Guna does not delude. What does Sattva Guna do? Reveal. It reveals the nature of the self. So this is the knowledge of the Sattva Guna I was talking about. It is knowledge that brings calmness. Whenever you're calm in life, peaceful with yourself, in your mind, that means Sattva Guna is dominant. This is why mindfulness is important, because its whole purpose is to promote Sattva Guna. Or whenever there's enthusiasm for life, in anything, in the most mundane things even just being alive, that means you are sattvish. Or clarity in the mind. You just kind of understand, like, I'm really clear today. I'm really getting it. There's depth in my thinking. Therefore, that means Sattva Guna dominance. It rises us and it makes us progress forward. It makes us happy. Thus, in turn, bestows the fruits of liberation and happiness. Therefore, Sattva Guna is your friend. Because it promotes clarity, and clarity is needed for Viveka, Tattva Viveka. Now, next. So we talked about so far a Shuddha Prakriti. Now, Ashuddha Prakriti, called Avidya, non-sattvic disturbance. Non-sattvic means there's Raja and Tamaguna involved. Rajaha is the quality that is responsible for activity. Any kind of activity we do in life, no matter how, even coming to class, Raja Guna involved. Getting out of bed, Raja Guna involved. Some people have a hard time getting out of bed. What does this mean?
Too much tamas.
That means what? Tamaguna is higher. Therefore, they need to exercise the Raja Guna. Or when someone's tired or fatigued, what does this mean? It's opposite action, isn't it? Because it's inertia. That means what? Tamaguna is higher. They need to exercise their Raja Guna. How? Karma Yoga. So activities associated with karma, like excitement, restlessness, agitations, a lot of just overly happy. Even that's a detriment sometimes, being overly excited with things. You can't focus. Like if someone's coming over and you haven't seen it for years, or you got to fly tomorrow, and you're so excited about going to a holiday, you can't sleep. So even that is a problem, that Raja Guna. Okay. It also brings delusion as a form of desire or stress or anxiety. When we have anxiety in life about something, or stress about work, or friends, or house, or roommates, or whatever it is, then that anxiety is owing to what? Lack of clarity. If I have clarity, I can't be anxious. Right? If I have like total sattva, then what is there to be anxious about? Because there's just like, here's what needs to be done, here's how to solve the problem. So any kind of anxiety about anything comes out of excess Raja Guna. It keeps us in the middle, like stuck, can't move forward. I'm stagnating, I'm moving slow. I don't want to. Let someone else do it. Why should I? That kind of thing. Raja Guna. And it bestows the fruits of bondage and sorrow. Okay, why bondage? When a person is overly desirous of success, for example, then they spend what? They wake up early as though I can't control myself. To what? Make money, make money, make money. I want to make more money. Right? I want to beat my competitors, more money. So I am bonded by what? Raja Guna. So it binds. Now, Tamaguna. So, Sattva Guna done, Raja Guna done, Tamas Guna. It is the quality that is responsible for ignorance. So what causes avidya? Tamaguna. So if you want to remove avidya, then how do we do that? By removing Tamaguna. But can you remove Tamaguna?
Knowledge.
No. What can you do? Increase the ratio of Sattva. Now how do you increase the ratio of Sattva Guna?
Meditation.
Yeah, anything that is conducive to bringing, what does Sattva Guna mean here? Enthusiasm, peace, calmness, serenity, clarity. Anything that in life, any exercise that brings those attributes, that is inducing Sattva Guna, thus reducing Tamaguna. Okay? So Tamaguna is ignorance associated with dullness, or darkness, or lethargy, inertia. I don't want to move. I feel sleepy. A lot of Tamaguna there. Ignorance brings in its wake laziness, for example, and stubbornness. If we know someone that is stubborn, unwilling to change, you offer them some advice, forget about it. Tamaguna, stubborn in their ways. If you know a person who is constantly changing, loves to incorporate new ideas in life, likes to, they're like the early adopter. You know those types? They're like adopt, the first one to be on the bandwagon. Sattva Guna. Very open mind. Okay. And Tamaguna lowers us. It makes us retrogress in life. And it causes suffering. So therefore, if one feels like they're not moving forward in life, what's the problem? Tamaguna. Can you feel like that if you got the Rajaguna? No, because the Rajaguna is all what? Excitement. I want to live. Give me one more day. Let me be younger so I can have more energy. So therefore, if one feels they're stuck in life, then the problem is excess Tamaguna. That means start to look for activity that either amps up Rajaguna, that means a little bit more, find something that's exciting, something that makes you wake up, or that makes you not want to go to sleep, like, oh my goodness, it's already 11 o'clock, I have to go to sleep. Right? Find something like that, and then do it. That's going to increase Rajaguna. Okay. So, before moving to the next verse, 17, revision. Brahman associated with avidya, which is what? Ashuddha, prakriti, that means prakriti that is contaminated by Raja and Tamaguna. So, Brahman associated with that, with avidya, is called jiva. So, what is a jiva? Original consciousness, apparently conditioned by excessive Raja and Tama Guna. Very small Sattva Guna. Now the next verse is going to talk about the jiva's avidya, the jiva's ignorance. Verse 17. So verse 17 is going to now establish important terms regarding the ignorance of the jiva. I need to keep note of these words I'm going to use now. Okay, verse 17. But the other, that is the jiva, which is what? Which is Brahman reflected in avidya, as I just said, is subjected to avidya, impure sattva guna. So the jiva is subjected to ignorance. The jiva is of a different grade, different mixture of the three guna, and this avidya is the causal body, karana sharira. So, new topic now. When the jiva identifies him or herself with this karana sharira, this causal body, that jiva is called prajna. Notice the long A, it's not as short. If I remove the long A, then it's called prajna. Prajna means intelligence. Prajna means jiva identified with causal body. Okay. Now commentary. The other, namely the jiva, comes under the control of avidya. And it manifests in strangely different ways depending upon the three gunas, which is predominant at any one time. So what does this mean? Predominant. So what makes a thing a thing? What makes a very exciting person exciting? Yeah, but which one is now up?
Rajas.
Rajaguna. What makes a very lazy person lazy?
Tamas.
So in other words, the strange ways that we see the various jivas in this world. Some are really weird, some are really funny, some are really smart, some are okay, some are right, so on. So the great variety is owed to the mixtures, the combinations of these three guna at any one time. For example, sattva guna may manifest as deva, that means a devata, in a different, more subtle loka. A predominant raja guna, it's not a long A, raja guna, is predominant in manushya. Manushya means what? Man. So why are we here? What does that imply? As a result of predominance of raja guna. That's why we always, what is raja guna? Excitement. What does that imply? Extroversion, extroverted mind. What does that mean? I'm out there. What is raja guna? Projection. What are we doing all day long? Projecting things. What does this mean? What does that mean? I see you, so always projecting. So therefore our world, the jiva is a predominantly raja. And if you have predominance of tama guna, then you have jada. Jada means matter. For example, a rock is mostly what? Tama guna. So this means if you, as a jiva, think of yourself as a rock. I'm a rock, I'm a rock. You die thinking I'm a rock, maybe you'll be born as a rock. I don't know, but it will be interesting to measure, ask a rock. Are you that person from last life? Okay. So this avidya, or the imbalance of the mix of the three gunas, is called the causal body. So what is karana sharira? Okay, so we've got three guna. 1, 2, 3. The disbalance of these three guna, for example, we've got extra high raja, we've got even higher tamaguna. This is what we call karana sharira, the disbalance of these three guna. They're not in equilibrium. So when there's a disbalance, what happens? Causal body is born. When the jiva gets identified with the ignorance or avidya, it is called prajna, one who is extremely ignorant. So prajna, long A, equals jiva identified with avidya. Therefore, when the jiva gets identified with the causal body, what's the causal body? Avidya. What's avidya? Disbalance of the three guna. That is called prajna. Now, this is important. Why? Because it's going to now go into the how is the jiva born? How do we arrive in this world? How do jivas come? We're not going to explain that. Okay. Now, when avidya is called the causal body, no, we don't need to read that. Okay, so the next verse, verse 18, is going to speak about how does a jiva come about as a result of causal body. You hear that? How does a person come as a result of causal body? And you're going to ask, what is causal body, right? Because what was the question? How do we come here on earth? Answer, because of the causal body. But the question will be, how does the jiva come as a result of the causal body? So there's more details to this. So, verse 18. Okay. At the command of Ishvara and the experience, for the experience of prajna, okay, again, by Ishvara's command, by Ishvara's will, for the purpose of the prajna, what is prajna? Jiva identified with ignorance, with the causal body. The 5 subtle elements are born. Space, air, fire, water, and earth. And they arose from the part of the Prakriti in which Tama Guna predominates. Okay, so we're talking about 5 subtle elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what are they for? For the experience of prajna, which is the jiva. So these 5 elements are created for what? The jiva. Right there. So that the jiva can experience the 5 elements. What are the 5 elements? Create the world. So the world is of the 5 elements. And this jiva, to experience the world, Ishvara created. So Ishvara created the jiva to experience the world. You're going to say, why? What's the point of the jiva experiencing the world? Right? Does anyone know the answer to that?
To recognize the ordinary.
Huh?
To recognize its absolute truth, the self.
Yeah, more answers?
The exhaustion is karma.
Yeah, good.
For existence. Existence.
Okay. Yeah, okay, well, they're all right. They actually don't go together. Existence so that I can exhaust my karma and realize my truth. How about that? I guess they're all correct. Okay, so let's read the inquiry. And then we'll take a break very soon. to summarize the thought thus so far, so we're going to summarize what we've done. The reality is Sat Chit Ananda. So the absolute reality, the highest of the highest, which nothing goes beyond, is Sat Chit Ananda. So we started from the highest. But one does not realize it because of pratibandha. In other words, obstacle of delusion, which is, what is it doing? It's caused by ignorance or avidya or maya. So this ignorance is of the nature of what? The three gunas. Okay. When the three gunas are in equilibrium, that means everything's okay at this point, Brahman, which thought functioning through the Maya, or Brahman functioning through the Maya, because it is pervading the whole reality, keeps that Maya under control, that we call Ishvara. Okay, we've established that so far. When this Brahman, this highest reality, Satchit Ananda, comes under the influence of Maya or Avidya, remember Maya is one Prakriti, Shuddha, Avidya is Ashuddha Prakriti. So when it comes under the influence of both, in which the equilibrium of the three gunas is disturbed, it becomes the jiva. So so as soon as the three gunas are no longer in equal proportion, instantly jiva comes. And the world is created. For the bhoga, so when the Satchidananda Brahman comes under the influence of Maya or Avidya, in which the equilibrium of the three guna is disturbed, it becomes the jiva. Next. For the bhoga, in other words, enjoyment of this jiva, the world of objects made from the 5 subtle elements is created by Ishvara, by God, from what? Tama guna, aspect of Prakriti. So this Prakriti we spoke of has these 3 guna. From the Tama guna, it says, Lord from the Tama guna created the world of objects. So from this Tama guna, Lord created the world of notes, of objects. Why? For the enjoyment of this jiva, or for the jiva to let's put it this way, to experience and exhaust its karma, for the sake of self-realization. Clear? Okay. Up to now, the general creation was explained so far. Now the teacher explains the specific creation. What creation? The one that we're in, the one that we're experiencing. Or you could say the creation that's in us, either way. We'll explain a specific creation with reference to the individuality. So we're not going to speak about the jiva's specific creation. After the 5 elements go through a process of transformation. After the 5 subtle elements, what are the 5 elements? Space, air, fire, water, earth. So there's 2 types of these elements. They're both 5. One is subtle in nature, one is gross in nature. In order to convert the subtle elements into gross elements, we call that tanmatra. Or tanmatra. So after the 5 subtle elements have been created for the jiva, stop there. What does this mean? Gross elements have not been created yet. We're still at the subtle element stage in the process of creation. After they have been created for the jiva, the next step is to provide an instrument of experience for this jiva. What What does this mean? What's an instrument of experience? What does this imply?
Senses.
Yeah. Yeah, so we need somehow, we need to be given, the jiva needs to be given some mechanism to identify this world. So we now speak about that mechanism. The instrument of experience is called the subtle body. In other words, the antahkarana. Heard that word before many times. The subtle body needs a case. A case. It needs a container. It needs something to be boxed by, to be isolated by, to be individuated by. And this is what we call the Annamaya Kosha, from the Pancha Kosha. Okay, so far the nature of the subtle body is explained. What's the nature of the subtle body? Why is it created?
Yeah.
Huh?
Experience.
Of what? Yeah, of the world. What's the world made of? 5 elements. So to validate this world, to go, wow, we need a jiva. But not only do we need the jiva, but we need the antahkarana, the subtle body. But then we need to stuff that antahkarana into a case, into a briefcase called the Annamaya Kosha, the gross body. We have done that so far. Now, the nature of this subtle body, which is what? The means for experiencing, for validating the world, is explained in the next verse. And then we will take a pause here. Okay, so verse 19, to answer the nature of the subtle body, is now going to say, from the sattva part of the 5 subtle elements of Prakriti, arose in turn the 5 subtle sensory organs. Okay, so let's quickly sketch this out. Okay, so it says, from the sattva part of the 5 subtle elements, so we have Prakriti. Remember, Prakriti is inherent in Brahman. So this Prakriti, which is of the 3 guna, Sattva, Rajaha, Tamaha, then it says, from the Sattva part of the 5 subtle elements of Prakriti, so this from the Sattva part of the 5 subtle elements of Prakriti. Okay. So Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So to create the 5 sensory organs, that means your jnana indriya, the organs that pick up knowledge from the environment, you need all 3 guna. From the sattva part, and they give birth to 5 elements. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we got space, air, fire, water, earth. Okay, so they create, at this point, they're called the subtle elements at this point. From the sattva part of the 5 subtle elements, so these elements are all made up of the 3 guna. So out of the dominance of these 5 elements, we take sattva, because remember this has all 3 gunas. So we take the sattva out of these 5 subtle elements, and out of that sattva, we create the jnana indriya. That means the 5 elements, the 5 organs for receiving knowledge from the environment. Okay. And those 5 organs, of course, are hearing, touch, smell, taste, seeing, and tasting. So that's what the verse is saying so far. So now we'll read the commentary. Okay. The sattva aspect of the 5 Mahabhutas, that means of the 5 elements, is taken and the 5 sense organs are created respectively. So the 5 organs are created from what? The 5 subtle elements. See that correlation? 5, 5. Okay. The ears, the skin, the eyes, the tongue, the nose, respectively. In other words, the ability for the ears to hear, the skin to feel, the eyes to see, the tongue to taste, and the nose to smell. So the knowledge for these organs to pick that up, that's created at this point. Because if you have the nose, so what? You have to tell the nose, what does the nose do? It smells. So that knowledge is what belongs at this point of the Jnana Indriya.
It's also at that point where the limitations are put on too, because the frequency of sound, for instance, goes way beyond what the organs can pick up.
Yeah.
But in all humans, it only goes to this point.
So this is at this point also implying now limitation of the range of the senses. Because a dog can pick up much more than we can in terms of ears. Okay, the ears, skin, tongue, and nose, respectively. The quality of the space quality of space that has the ears with the faculty of hearing. Okay, so from space, sound is born. That means space, the element of space gives what? Birth to sound. Because to speak, you need space. Right? The audio can only reach if there's space for it to go. The quality of air, which is from the element of air, is born touch. Because without air, well, you can't touch. And then from Agni, that means from fire, or that means from form. To see form, you need what? Eyes. Okay? And then from water, the organ of taste. In other words, why organ of taste, water? Because your tongue is, it tastes what? From water, the organ of taste. So for example, if you have something that's very sweet, something that's very juicy, like a food, and then tongue touches. Why? Because there's saliva, there's that sense.
If your tongue's dry, you can't taste it.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it also because the entire body is like lips and water? Is that why the tongue's from the entire digestive system and all this stuff?
Well, I mean, the tongue has to be, has to be some agent for, absorbing the taste. So it's like a dry agent on a surface. It's not going there's no contact.
Doesn't go down.
You need to like a sponge. You need to absorb it in.
Like osmosis or something.
Okay, and for the earth, we have a taste. Okay, out of the earth, not taste. From the earth, smell. For example, when you go on a rainy day, what happens? We smell. That smell that you smell, that the nose smells, that's earth. That's the smell of earth. So the smell is associated to the nose.
That's the bacterial activity. That's the results of that.
In other words, to pick up earth, to pick up the smell, to pick up the element of earth, I've given you the nose. To pick up the element of form, I've given you eyes. To pick up element of taste, I've given you tongue. To pick up the element of sound, I have given you, says Ishvara, ears. Why? To see my world. What world? For what purpose? To exhaust your karma. Okay. In this way, we're over here now. In this way, out of the sattva guna, aspect, the knowledge aspect of the Pancha Mahabhuta, the 5 sense organs are created. So far, what creates the jnana indriya, the sense organs of knowledge? Sattva guna. Why sattva guna? What do we say about sattva guna?
It's knowledge.
All knowledge. In order to pick up knowledge of sound, knowledge of form, knowledge of smell, knowledge of so on, I need to get then what? Create an aspect out of that knowledge which knows that knowledge. I can't get it out of some other knowledge. I need to use that all knowledge to pick up this knowledge that knowledge gives in the form of the world.
Yeah, you could have the whole of the knowledge to be able to put limitations on parts of it.
Okay. This is the independent expression of each Pancha Mahabhuta in the subtle body. So every sense organ, knowledge sense organ, has an independent expression or independent absorption of its own. The eyes absorb only form, they're not going to absorb sound. So out of these 5 organs, then we get to enjoy what we speak of all day long. You know, when 2 people meet on a date, what do we talk about? What do you like? And then the other answers, I like, and then what follows after that? Either something they see, they hear, they smell, they taste, or they touch. That's it. Our whole conversation, our whole life is nothing about these 5 organs of action, which they have picked up. So the knowledge of the 5 types of sense perception is received through the 5 reception centers called the sense organs, jnana indriyani. But if there is no coordination in the 5 perceptions, the result will be chaotic. Okay. You see that statement? If I just send you this data into a... Imagine throwing a bunch of files on the computer without folders, right? It's like, files from my, from India trip, files from Germany trip, files from Paris trip, and you just dump them onto your hard drive. What's going on? Right? They're still there.
On my hard drive.
Yeah, they're still there, but I can't use it. Because now it's so overwhelming. So I need to categorize. I need to give it some proper folder order to make sense of it. So if there is no coordination of this data received from the world, then the result will be very chaotic. The person will go crazy. The coordinating agent, so the question is now, what creates these folders? What is the responsible for that? Is the antahkarana. In other words, the mind, the subtle body. Or the organ of inner perception of what? Of all of the 5 senses. In other words, that antahkarana makes the collective expression of the Pancha Mahabhuta, of the 5 elements, possible. 5 elements, world. To enjoy the expression of this world made out of 5 elements, I need that which can pick it up. In other words, the antahkarana. And then in verse 20, okay, before we move on, are we clear so far? Mm-hmm. Okay, so verse 20 is going to talk about okay, so the antahkarana is formed to help the jiva experience the 5 elements. Clear with that? Okay, so this is what verse 20 is now going to continue with. Okay. From a combination of them all, of what? Of all of the 5 senses, the sattva portions of the 5 subtle elements, we're still in the subtle stage, arose the organ of inner conception called the antahkarana. but due to difference of function, it is divided into two. Stop there. So far we have what? Antahkarana. What is Antahkarana? Antahkarana?
Was it the brain or?
Organs of perception.
Inner organ of perception. What are we talking about?
Are we talking about the brain or what?
Not at all. Brain hasn't even been created yet. It doesn't even exist in terminology at this stage. So the Antahkarana is the subtle body.
Okay.
Okay, so this subtle body is now divided into two further categories to help us understand this subtle body. What are they? Due to the difference of function of this Antahkarana, it is divided into two. Manas, mind, is that aspect whose function is doubting.
I always thought that was associated with emotion in
Yeah, it is. In
Yeah.
different texts we'll talk about different.
Okay.
Yeah. In this case, we just stick with
because the doubting sounds like an intellectual thing, doesn't it?
Emotional.
Is the door closed? No, you don't need to check. Just it's
front?
okay. Is it closed?
Front door.
Doubting.
I'm not-
You doubting?
Gareth, it's a
I'm not
test.
sure. Is it closed? Is it closed? Can you check, please? Yeah. Okay. See what you just see?
Doubting.
That's doubting. So what just did this doubting?
Yeah.
That was very persuasive improvisation.
That was so.
Outright manipulation
Yeah.
of the students.
So that's the mind. Okay, so the mind was used to doubt. Now, why do you doubt? If you didn't doubt, then we will constantly get ourselves into trouble. Because we need to stop and think. So in other words, doubting is used to verify, is this in the highest good right now for me, for the environment, for everyone else? Will this help me? Will this help me grow further? So I need to doubt in order to survive. I need to doubt because if I see, oh, okay, that's a lion's roar. I have no doubt that's a nice animal, right? So I need to doubt, is that dangerous for me? So that doubting, that's what the manas does. So that aspect which doubt is the manas. And buddhi, that is the intellect, is that aspect which, or whose function are viveka and focus. That means I've determined what is what needs to happen. And once I've determined that the door is closed, what happens then? I relax. And then I continue with the next process. Should I approach her or should I not? Should I approach Kelsey and ask her for a number? Should I? And then when I make a decision and I go, what happens? The mind stops being agitated. In other words, as long as the doubt is there, the mind is agitated. When the mind stops doubting, what happened? I have determined as a result of postulating what is the best decision to do or to follow right now. So therefore, if there is anxiety in life, in someone's life, what's the likely cause of that? There is subtle doubt. Now, what's the solution to that? Buddhi, discrimination. Because remember the door? I'm agitated until I am 100% sure that the door is closed. So therefore, exercise the intellect in order to reduce this subtle doubting, this mechanism of anxiety. Okay, we have now verse 20. Okay, commentary. Okay. By a combination of the sattva gunas, that means the three gunas, of all of the pancha mahabhutas, of all of the five elements, arises the antahkaranam, or the organ of inner perception. Next. The antahkaranam is of the nature of the thoughts. Vritti rupena. That means both gross and subtle thought. Gross thought means I see bottle, very gross. Subtle thought is I feel like there's a connection there, right? This is a lot more subtle. So the antahkarana is the nature of thoughts, both subtle and gross. Due to the differences of the functions of these vrittis, that is doubting and analyzing, they are divided into two types. One is the mind, or manaha, the other is buddhi, or the intellect. Okay. The manaha, the mind thrives on doubt. That's all it does all day long. It's like, vacillating. Should I? Should I not? Should I? Should I not?
So that's the emotional side to it.
That's also because emotion means what?
Yeah. But it's uneasy to be indecisive like that.
Yeah.
It provokes emotion.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good point you just picked out. So there's an emotional expression of some sort, as long as there's this pendulum going left and right. When it stops, what happens to the emotion? It just fades away. I am then determined to take action, and I am relieved. So the mind thrives on doubt or cognition of the what? Of the jnana indriyas, that means of the perceptions picked up by the five senses. When the thoughts which are vacillating like a pendulum at the level of the mind, that is doubt, reach a state of decision, should I or should I not? I should. That state is now called buddhi. So what just happened here? As long as the mind is vacillating, I'm identified with what? The mind. As long as there's indecision, I'm identified with what? Emotions. The mind. Doubting. As soon as I've made a decision, what am I identified with then? Buddhi. Intellect. Good. So this process happens constantly in my life, from mind to buddhi. Should I get this job or that job? This job or that job? And then when I make a decision, I now feel good. And then I, of course, would justify our decision.
And like I said, right or wrong, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. In the same way, the shloka, the verse 19 and 20, the effect or the effect of the sattva guna of the Panchamahabhuta have been explained. Okay, so what it's saying is, so far, the effect, which is doubting or decision making in the subtle body, have been explained. Now we're going to talk about the effect of Raja Guna. So far we've talked about the effect of Sattva Guna. What's the effect of Sattva Guna while it's operational in the Antahkarana? The effect, two types: doubting and deciding. Determining. So, question, what is the effect of Raja Guna? And also, backtrack, what else is the effect of the Sattva Guna? To create the five senses in order for the jiva to receive the five sensory experiences. So again, revision. Sattva Guna creates the Antahkarana, creates the Jnana Indriya, creates the Manas, creates the Buddhi. Clear? Okay, next verse. Now, what is the effect of Raja Guna, of these five elements, which are still in their subtle state? Okay, verse 21. From the Rajas portion of the five elements, we're still at this stage. We've done Sattva, now we're going to go into Raja Guna. So from the Raja portion of the five elements arose, what comes out? The organs of action, Karma Indriyani, known as the organs of speech, which we're using now, at least I am, to communicate. The hands, being used by your hands to write this down. The feet, feeling the floor. The organs of excretion, That means excretion to expel any kind of food, for example, or expel disease, or expel even vomit. That's also excretion. Anything that the body rejects, that also has to be incorporated for the survival of this body. And generation, this means the reproduction organs. So this is also now created by what? Rajaguna. So Rajaguna creates the organ for speaking, speech, hands, feet, excretion, that means expulsion, and reproduction.
So do those five organs line up with exactly with the five organs?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to work out which ones are which now.
Yeah, they also apply to the same.
So the
ones.
hands would be the earth, the feet would be the earth, I'm assuming, because of the contact. The hands would be the.
I think we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
If you want, I can have this little. Sorry.
Oh, you've got it. Okay. I know we've got that, but it doesn't actually go
Oh,
into the
yeah.
detail of what it
Oh,
has.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. From the Rajaguna aspect of the five great elements, respectively, that means individually, the organs of action are created. They are the organs of speech, hands, legs, organs of excretion, and organs of procreation. It must be remembered that the five great elements that we're speaking of right there are still in their tanmatra stage, still in their subtle stage. There is no physical creation at this point. Everything is still an idea, a thought in the macrocosmic mind of Ishvara, where they have not yet undergone any grossification. They are still in their pure state. This is important because now you're thinking, at this stage in creation, we have, we have the, like eyes sticking out of somewhere. We have the ears popping out of nowhere. No, this is all still an idea, a very subtle thought, because nothing has been grossified yet. It is still in potential, let's put it this way. As in the case of the Sattva Guna, where there was an individual, independent manifestation, where there was an individual independent manifestation, as well as collective manifestation, so also in the case of Rajaguna, the Karma Indriyani, the organs of action, represent the independent manifestation of Rajaguna, of the five great elements. So what this is saying is, not only does this Rajaguna create for the individual, but also it serves a purpose on the macrocosmic. I think we have a diagram here. Okay, we're not going to speak about it because it says here collective. Does it say that? Independent, like a collective manifestation. That collective, I'm not going to speak about yet because that's coming up in the next verse. So far, we have spoken about what? The individual. So this Sattva Guna, Rajaguna creates the Antakarana for the individual, creates what else? Creates the organs of action for the individual. It creates the hands, it creates the feet, it creates the procreational organs and so on for the individual. And also in the collective, it creates the world. It creates the total world. Okay. So now, next stage is, we're still at the jiva, how a jiva is created, remember? So what happens next is prana is now coming. We need to now make prana for the jiva. Prana is the vital energy that makes the first, circulation, expulsion, excretion, and all that.
Breathing.
So breathing and so on. Okay. Okay, so I said prana is formed for the jiva. Next verse. So now we read, what is this prana? Verse 22. Prana, the vital air, arose from Raja, portion of the 5 subtle elements, tanmatras. Okay, stop there. What else arose from Raja? Guna? Karma, Indriyani. Organs of action. So first arose organs of action, and next arose prana. And this prana that is created out of what? Raja Guna is divided into 5 physiological functions. Respiration, breathing, that is. Excretion, that means food comes out. Assimilation, what's assimilation?
I think the absorption perhaps of the nutrients into the body.
Yeah, okay. I think it's
Digestion.
Huh?
Digestion.
It's a complete process of taking in.
Yeah, digestion, that's the proper word. Circulation, that is for blood, and the power to eject unwanted objects. So the power to eject is different from excretion. For example, this is specifically responsible for perspiration, sweating. Right? It's taking out what the body doesn't need.
I think that would still be excretion. I would think it more
No,
like,
excretion is only food.
Like you mean like more stones and things like that?
because if you get a
Literally
splinter,
stones and
if you get a splinter in your hand, your body can actually push it out and reject it.
Yeah, that would be the power to eject unwanted objects on the physical level.
Yeah.
Because we're talking prana, so we're not even in manomaya kosha now. We're still at the prana kosha.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is all related to the physical. It expels the subtle body also. Okay, one thing to understand about prana is it's not just limited to the annamaya kosha. It is between the annamaya kosha and the manomaya kosha. It is like the linker in between. So manomaya, the mind, the physical. That which joins the two is pranamaya kosha. How do we prove this? Very easy. When a chemist gives you a tablet, what happens not only to the body, but also your state of mind changes. What is the state of mind? Manomaya kosha. But also the mind has a response, the body has a response to the tablet. Therefore, both are affected. I give you a tablet, not only is the body affected, but also the mind is affected.
Placebo, it's
Okay, and also it expels the udana is what expels the final moment when the body dies. This prana is what will sever this cord, if you want to put it language in that way, what severs the cord between the gross body and the subtle body. So it severs that cord, and then the person is free. The subtle body is no longer. That's the official moment of death, when the thing goes teeth. What happens in that teeth? What happened just 1 millisecond before that teeth? The udana expelled the subtle body from the physical body. Okay.
But is it true that even when that happens, the hearing is still going on? You can still hear?
No, hearing was before. The final is because the subtle body needs. What is the subtle body? The antakarana. So the antakarana picks up data from the world, but the antakarana needs prana. It needs, prana to work. So what does it say? This udana expels that antakarana from where? From the body. Therefore, it's no longer the data from the physical is no longer going to any subtle body because the subtle body is now gone.
But I read in the science, well documented anyway, that apparently.
This before this.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. That's way before the final moment of death.
Oh, it's even
Are you
after
talking
the
about
person
coma?
is.
Couldn't be flatlining.
Not coma. It's after the person has been announced dead. Confirmed dead.
So they came back to tell the story?
About 8 to 10 days after the body expires,
Yeah.
they have evidence that apparently there's still things happening in the brain.
Okay.
Hearing goes after a few hours, even
Yeah,
after
that's
that.
the last thing that goes.
And then there's still activity going on in the brain.
After the heart has stopped?
Yeah, I will get you that. That.
Well, it's a bit like how a chicken runs around when he cuts its head off. You know?
No. That's still life there. The chicken is not completely dead yet. It's still running. It's got life, circulation going on.
Yeah.
The body is dead, confirmed dead.
Yeah.
And then they actually looked at their EEG.
Yeah.
There's still stuff going on. Alpha rhythm is going on. There's still things going on for probably 6 to 8 days, isn't it? That's what they said.
But that could just be chemistry. That could just be
I'll search
chemistry.
the information.
But the Udana is the last air, last breath.
So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
the
last
Udana
step.
hasn't left yet.
I would think that's just chemistry going on.
Maybe the gross body is dead, but Udana hasn't left yet.
Yeah, we don't know when the Udana goes actually. We just know that prana is what severs the subtle body from the gross body. I'm not saying now, there's the exact moment when it goes. Like, you're gone. We don't know when it's going because you can't measure it.
Yeah, who's there?
Okay, so I don't know when it goes. Okay, now commentary. Okay. When the Rajaguna aspect of all the 5 great subtle elements put together, 5 elements put together, they manifest as prana shakti. Okay, pause there. See this word put together? So Rajaguna puts together to create prana shakti. How many these mini pranas does prana have? 5. 5 great elements put together to create prana. What is prana? 5. 5 functions. So therefore, when the Rajaguna aspect of all the 5 great elements, so all the 5 great elements of space, air, fire, water, earth, the Raja aspect of those 5 great elements, the Raja of space, Raja of air, Raja of earth, Raja of water, Raja of space, all of them, when you put them together, all the 5 great elements put together, the Raja aspect of those 5 great elements, then what comes is the prana shakti. Or kriya shakti. Kriya shakti means the shakti of action. That means action of what? Action of prana, of preservation, of excretion and so on. The prana shakti is of 5 types. Again, depending on the functions performed, which we talked about. In this way, the evolution of the sattva and the raja guna aspect of the 5 great elements can be summarized as follows. So now we're going to summarize the raja and the sattva guna aspect. In the next shloka, the total... Okay, it's over here. Let's look at this briefly now. Okay, so this chart is now trying to summarize these 2 aspects. So Pancha Mahabhuta in its subtle state, not gross. Remember how I circled Sattva and Raja? That's why it only has Sattva and Raja there. So let's look at the Raja Guna. Manifests as Prana Shakti. Prana Shakti, 5 individual functions, remember? So on the individual level, this Raja Guna creates these karma indriyas, these organs of action. At the collective level, that means for the entire world, for every jiva, the prana shakti is subdivided into breathing, circulation, expulsion, and so on. Okay, is that clear so far? Now, Sattva Guna manifests as organs of knowledge, Jnana Indriya. So at the individual level, they come out as Jnana, the 5 organs of knowledge. And at the collective, that means for everyone, they come out as the Antahkarana. That means the subtle body, the mind. And this mind is then split into 2 functions depending on the what needs to happen, based on the experience picked up by this Jnana Indriya. Either discriminating, or deciding, or doubting. Okay, is that chart clear? And that perfectly closes the last verse, which no more verses here. So it just turned out to be like that, 5 o'clock. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti